Welcome to DU Digimon.
Hello and welcome to DU Digimon and welcome to Jank Tank 6. We're finally back with Jank Tank. We really hope you guys have been looking forward to this one as much as we have, especially assuming we've got Jank Tank literally 6 days out of 7 this week. Me and Dan have worked around the clock to, well, not literally, but kind of also not, unironically, not literally. As we've worked really hard to bring out this Jank Tank all in 1 week, because obviously we're meant to be having the release of BT 1819 Special Booster 2.0 on the 1st of November. Of course, that's been delayed by 3 days as of recording. So it might be later, unfortunately. But we've worked very hard to bring this to the forefront for you, and we really hope you guys have enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, and ding that notification bell. Would really appreciate it, guys. So not many rules have changed with Jank Tank since the last one, so since Jank Tank 5. The only one that did change is we actually decided, so obviously we took away the meta relevancy rule, so to kind of open up the deck leniency. And then we also decided, and granted we probably should have asked you guys, I'm sorry, but we decided to actually allow for rogue tier decks in Jank Tank. So the tier list that we've got voted on, which we'll need to get a new one voted for, I think, for the BT18 format. So no doubt I'll be putting out a poll at the end of this week to get that sorted. But we decided to bring rogue tier decks in just to kind of open up the pool, because the last vote there was so much kind of division on where some decks ended up in the tier list. So there were decks that were Jank Tank, that were Jank tier in BT in Jank Tank 4, that then suddenly going up 1, maybe even 2 tiers. I think Shakamon was one of them. Shakamon originally was in Jank tier and then ended up, I believe, in either Rogue tier or Tier 1. Tier 2, sorry. Which is crazy. Some of these decks really jumped around a bit. So we decided to bring Rogue tier the Rogue tier decks down into the depths of Jank, and make them legal, just to ensure that we had a little bit more of a pool of stuff to play with, which has opened up some possibilities with this, and some of the decks that fell into the rogue tier are going to be in this tournament. Now, another thing as well, of course, is that I'm filming this after we've done the tournament, quite some time after we filmed the tournament. Actually, I'm filming this almost a month after the tournament, which probably wasn't a good idea. So if you guys want me to try and start filming this video before we do the tournament instead, obviously I'd still release this after the tournaments and stuff like that. But if you want me to try and film these videos before we do the tournament, so you can kind of get me kind of talking a little bit more from a theory point of view, rather than knowing exactly how the decks did and knowing how they worked, then let me know. Because I always want to try and improve on the channel and improve on what you guys want us to do. Everyone else in the team is exactly the same. We all want to kind of make sure we're bringing out the content that you guys want to see, and in the way you want to see it. So please let us know. But let's get into the deck lists now, starting with Alex's Imperialdramon list. So this is Imperialdramon Red Purple, one of the most potent and aggressive decks in this tournament. It can do so many checks if you give it the chance, and Alex has got some really interesting tech choices in this build. So he's got stuff like the Valkyremon Ace, which is actually searchable off of the EX3 Wormmon, because it is a red free Digimon, so he can actually search it. He's got the Balmon and the EX6 Beelzemon, because the Balmon, if there's enough trash when it dies, can then play out the Beelzemon, do de-digivolve and rush, and all this sort of nice stuff. And yeah, really, really interesting tech choice there. Also the Galapmon Crimson Mode Ace as well. He very well could have put the Imperialdramon Paladin Mode Ace into this, because obviously it can digivolve on top of any Imperialdramon, but ultimately went for the Crimson Mode Ace just because it does more removal, and also because of the amount he's putting in the trash, can also do quite a lot of damage if he needs a backup win condition. If the Imperialdramon hasn't been able to do the business, for example, he can go into the Crimson Mode Ace instead to finish off everything. A trick I learned with Crimson Mode Ace is sometimes it's just worth it just to hard play it, because it will activate its 15k deletion. And Alex is exactly the same. He's got the analog use and the mismemory boost, so he can get more stuff in the trash if he needs to. He's got the tie for further kind of security attack +1. He's obviously got the Devimon from BT16 as well, which is a crazy card. You know, obviously has that partition. I believe has raid as well, and plays out a Digimon and gives it rush as well. So really nice. Very spooky deck, and when it gets going, it's very strong, and it will actually be making an appearance in our first match of the tournament tomorrow against one of the other decks in this tournament, which will be Diaboromon. I don't know why I worded that so weirdly. I forgot to go over the rule changes, and I'm reshooting this, so I've probably been a bit thrown off. I don't have to admit that, but honesty is the best policy. Next deck is mine. So this is Skull Hybrid, as I call it. This was basically in Digital Masochist, the little series that I was doing with a kind of a limited card pool, which unfortunately seems to have died because the last video, you know, I was doing the whole do this and give it the likes and I'll do another one, just to test the waters and see if that would be a fun thing to do. It didn't get the likes, and I'm a man of my word, so I've not done another one as much as I'd like to, because I was having a lot of fun with that. But from that series, the VIP, what's it word? Very important person? Not very important person. Most important player, MIP. Most important player was Skullmeramon. Skullmeramon actually genuinely got me some wings against constructed decks in a sealed deck. He is awesome. He only costs 2 to go into, so super cheap. And his effect is a main effect. You pay 2 memory to gain security attack +1 and then attack. So if you use it right, you can actually choke the opponent using that. And the best way I found to optimize Skullmeramon as a card, I tried so many different ways in testing. I tried like using ST1 Greymon so you could get more checks, but you wouldn't be big enough and all this sort of stuff because there's no kind of way of, you know, getting jamming. I did originally have speed plugin in this as well, but I found when I went over to the red hybrid engine, a lot of the times you wouldn't have your tamers out, so you then wouldn't be able to use the speed plugin because you would have no blue sources. So you know, I ended up kind of forgoing the jamming and instead just went for me big, me smash mentality. You know, all of the kind of a dangerous thing for Bandai to do, but all of the red hybrid inheritables, including the tamers, are generic. They're just completely generic. They work with anything. Aegisdramon and Burning Greymon both give 2000 DP. Both of the Takuyas also give 2000 DP, but also give additional effects. The BT12 one gives you 2 memory when you attack in and you do a check, and the BT17 one gives you piercing. So really good. Really good. Fantastic kind of generic engine. Perhaps too meta, and that is something that we are considering, you know, and have considered before. We had the meta relevancy rule before, but you know, we ended up taking that away to kind of, you know, increase the kind of deck building potential. But you know, let us know in the comments if you think this deck in particular is too kind of meta. You know, especially if it does well in the tournament. You know, obviously I know whether or not it did or not, but you don't yet. So, you know, let me know what you guys are thinking. I mean, it does have a lot of potential to brick, you know, from first-hand experience because we've got so many options. But it's also, you know, in the right situation, very consistent. It's kind of an all-over. It's kind of a bit of a gacha deck, I'll be honest. It's very random, and I love it, and it fits very well into Jank, whilst being, you know, surprisingly powerful, surprisingly aggressive when it wants to be. It's really fun. I absolutely recommend try it yourself. I think it's really a fun deck. Next is Charles's Ravemon deck. So Ravemon obviously did get some support from the box topper in BT17, and you know, its main game plan is, you know, delete itself, cheat itself out, manipulate some stuff in your opponent's hand, trash stuff, purple stuff, done. And from BT13, it kind of was one of the more okay decks, I'll be honest, and it's kind of, you know, it's not really aged like a fine wine, it's more aged like milk. But you know, it's you know, it does its job, and it's really cool for Jank Tank. You know, Charles had a good go with this one. You know, obviously got the Saberdramon in there, which is really cool. You know, it's definitely one of those decks. You know, I don't think it's Charles's favourite one that he's brought to Jank Tank. But you know, it's still a great deck and has a lot of potential for it. Right, next is the Gomamon Plesiomon deck from Sam. So if you have been watching the channel for a while, or if you haven't watched this before, you'll either know or you won't have known that this had a match on the channel against Red Hybrid, in which it actually won. It beat Red Hybrid. Like, you know, not handedly, it was close, but you know, it beat Red Hybrid. It beat a meta deck. You know, which is the whole point of the series, is try and make Jank decks, you know, as good as possible, and this deck proves it. You know, it's literally, the proof is in the pudding. You know, so I'll put a link down in the comments below to that match. It was a few weeks ago now, but you know, feel free to watch that. If you wanted to see this one in action. Unfortunately, Plesiomon did not get filmed this time around, but you know, it's a great deck. It's a really fun deck. You know, Sam's got some great tech cards in it with the security tech +1 from the Aegisdramon. He even took Plesiomon to regionals. He unfortunately didn't do particularly well, but you know, he's got a really good eye for piloting this deck, and it's one of his absolute favourites. He's currently going really hard on Safagamon, but this is his fun deck. So Safagamon is when he's going, you know, tryharding. Plesiomon is his favourite kind of I'm gonna have fun deck, and his favourite Jank Tank deck. Other than Aegisdramon, which he, you know, he did very well with when he played that in the last tournament. Next is Dane's Diaboromon build. So this is interesting because he uses a lot of kind of green tools in this to kind of make it a little bit more consistent, a little bit more tricky to go up against. He's got the Kunamon for that consistency. He's got the Terriermons to help play the Tamers. He's got the Lopmons to help give alliance to a lot of his Digimon, which is cool. He's got the Cherubimon Ace, obviously one of the best, you know, aces in the game. You know, can play out stuff like the Dramogimon, which I actually find quite funny, because if you play out the Dramogimon, end of turn it can then hide back in the breeding area, so you can use it to contribute to Cherubimon's effect, and then hide it away for later when you might need you know, something to evolve into. You've got the Shuchong Wong, so she can search all of the stuff with Beast, and Diabot stuff is pretty much all beasts. Obviously the Airdramon, yeah, really cool deck. And funny enough, it's kind of Beardy Dan's kryptonite. Apparently, he really doesn't like it going against Diaboromon with any deck, which is funny because we've kind of got this growing theory that all of us have certain players and certain decks that we just don't do well against. It's just like a curse, and we all curse each other. Yeah, Dane likes to say that I'm the person he doesn't do very well against. Dan, I like to say that Dan is the person I don't do very well against, and Dan likes to say that Dane is the person he doesn't do very well against, which is quite funny. It's like this triangle of just, you know, I beat you, but they beat me, but I beat you, but you know, that sort of stuff. It's quite funny. But yeah, the other ones that got a lot of stuff, trashes stuff in battle as well, has a lot of suspension. Really cool, really cool deck. Friggin' love Diaboromon. Next, speaking of Beardy Dan, this is Beardy Dan's Eosmon list. Now this is the list that I was the most scared of going into Jank Tank 6, because Eosmon confuses me. I really hate going against it. It does a swing, and then all of a sudden it's played a dude, deleted a dude, searched for a thing, gone into something else, de-digivolved something, played out something else, done all this stuff. It takes 2,000 years to do a turn, and by the time that turn has ended, you're probably dead. It can get 6 billion checks, it can get 10 billion redirects. You know, it just does a lot. And Dan knows how to pilot it really well. You know, he has used this before in, you know, our non-Jank Tank tournaments. And honestly, this is one of the decks I was the most scared of when we brought in rogue tier decks to the format. You know, but you know, it is beatable. It's not undefeatable. It's just one of my cursed decks personally. But you know, it's a really cool deck, really fun deck. And you know, can absolutely hang with the big boys if it wants to. Obviously, he's got the Nyaromon in here as the egg, so he gets more DP boosts on all of his stuff. The Tanimon also gives him some DP as well when he ever is one of his tamers gets kind of suspended. He's got the Digimon Emperor in here to stop any Rookie Rush kind of scenarios, Rookie Rush kind of things going on. And obviously the Eosmons speak for themselves. I mean, they do so much. They are super powerful cards. Really nice deck. And I never want to play against it again. Next is good old James with his Devimon / Barbarmon deck, which this is going to be all about kind of hand manipulation. It's all about playing stuff from the trash. It's very fun in terms of what's going on. I didn't actually get to play against him with this deck, but I very much would like to. And it does a lot of very cool things. Obviously, the Neo Devimons, I think on deletion effect, allows you to play a Dan Devimon out from the trash if you've got enough trash between both players. The Dan Devimon also gets Rush, which is the on the EX6 Dan Devimon, and obviously Barbarmon himself has the Scapegoat, which is a really interesting keyword. He has the Omnimon Jvat in here to help play stuff out. Yeah, it's a really fun deck. Has got a Searcher in the form of the Boogimon, which is cool, yeah, it's just a very fun deck, and I definitely want to see more of it, and would like to try and get it filmed at some point. But I know in general James doesn't like to be on film, which is absolutely fair play. Not all of us like to be, but would love to see this on film at some point. Next, we've got our first of two Reaper lists. This is Joel's Reaper list, which is a little bit more of a standard Reaper build. Reaper is one of those decks that used to be absolutely terrifying, and now is kind of, meh. At least for the time being, until we get Fake Jerry and kind of any further kind of Reaper support in BT19. So these are the last, the waning days of Reaper being a jank deck, potentially. But yeah, so really cool things going on. The X antibodies in here to help make your stack even bigger. Obviously all of the kind of things in this like to all go under one big thing to do your big swings. It's very late, apologies. Yeah, really cool. Joel's is a new person in the group, he played Digimon for a while, took a bit of a hiatus, and is now returning back to it, playing stuff like Reaper and Grandis Quagamon, which Grandis might still be playable. I can't remember on the tier list. But in terms of the Jank Tank stuff, but Reaper, very cool. Next, the second Reaper list, very different. This is Ollie's list, and actually uses some yellow tools. So he's using Starmons, which gives you the 1000 DP for each of your Digimon you have in play. Obviously, just bear in mind as well, something to really bear in mind with this. Obviously, you'll notice there's no Shotos in this. This was filmed before EX7 came out. Long time ago, so just kind of nip that in the bud before we go, where's the Shotos? Why are the Shotos not in there? But the yellow text in this, the Spiral Masquerade, the Reinforcing Memory Boost, Rika, Tactical Retreat, really cool inclusions. But yeah, the yellow stuff in this deck, really cool inclusions, Tactical Retreat, Spiral Masquerade, all that sort of stuff to help with kind of more removal, because the more Digimon you've got, the more kind of DP boosts you're going to be removing. Obviously, the Rika gives you a Memory Tamer, which obviously you don't have in, there's no Tamers in Joel's build, and you'll definitely see which one of these two lists is better. Then our last list is Peter's D Brigade list. So this was Peter's kind of wasn't originally going to be in Jank Tank, but we needed a 10th player, and luckily he had his deck, so he kindly offered to fill in our 10th spot so we wouldn't have to buy, and came in with his D Brigade list. Now his D Brigade list is obviously it needs updates. It doesn't have Brigadramon, for example, doesn't have any other sort of stuff, so it's definitely not in the rogue tier, in the tier 2 kind of contention that normal D Brigade would be, and we absolutely thought, okay, yeah, this will be fine to have in this. Obviously, he's got the Ebimon and the Darkdramon that he likes to rely on, as well as Omnimon Jvat. And yeah, it's very much kind of very reliant on Ultimate Flare and DCD Bomb. Whenever me and Peter go up against each other, I'm always dreading an Ultimate Flare or a DCD Bomb in security. He plays 4 of each of those for the removal. And everything else here is fairly standard, other than like Vademon as well. Fairly standard D Brigade. Whilst essentially just not being up to date really with what you'd see out of a full power kind of D Brigade list, which I'm sure Peter will want to update at some point. But I know he plays a lot of other card games. Like he's very big on Lorcana as well. That group's getting bigger and bigger. He's got his focus on multiple card games, and that's absolutely fine. We want to be able to make sure we're playing with people that are both absolute, I must be the best, I never touch grass, I will be meta, blah, 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 and also the people that are just like, I just want to play every now and again, and super grateful to Peter for filling in the spot of our 10th player for Jank Tank 6. But that's all of the decks, guys. I hope you guys enjoy the matches this week, as well as the winners profile we'll be doing at the end. But join us tomorrow for our first match, which will be Red Purple Imperialdramon versus Diaboromon. Bunnies versus evil dragon things. So very interesting match. I am sure. I'm not the one editing it. Dan is editing that one, so I have not watched through it properly. But I will be there watching it with you once it makes its way onto YouTube tomorrow. But until then, everyone, like, subscribe, ding that notification bell. Really appreciate that. And I hope you guys really enjoy Jank Tank 6. But I'm rambling. It's very late. I'm tired. Keep it digital.